All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah walhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilman ya kareem. Bismillah. Inshallah, we're going to begin. Since we have to take a 1 month gap, we will just do a quick recap of maybe 5-6 verses prior to that. So we're going to start with no, where is it? Bismillah. We're going to start with so we stopped at وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا, that when they entered مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَهُمْ. So we stopped at when Yaqub alayhi salam, he told his children, i.e. this is verse number 68. Verse number 68. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ. Do you want to recite these verses?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولما دخلوا على يوسف آوى إليه أخاه قال إني أنا أخوك فلا تبتئس بما كانوا يعملون فلما جهزهم بجهازهم جعل السقاية في رحل أخيه ثم أذن مؤذن أيتها العير إنكم لسارقون قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون قالوا نفقد صواع الملك ولمن جاء به حمل بعير وأنا به زعيم قالوا تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض وما كنا سارقين قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه كذلك نجزي الظالمين فبدأ بأوعيتهم قبل وعاء أخيه ثم استخرجها من وعاء أخيه كذلك كدنا ليوسف ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء الله نرفع درجات من نشاء وفوق كل ذي علم عليم قالوا إن يسرق فقد سرق أخ له من قبل فأسرها يوسف في نفسه ولم يبدها لهم قال أنتم شر مكانا والله أعلم بما تصفون قالوا يا أيها العزيز إن له أبا شيخا كبيرا فخذ أحدنا مكانه إنا نراك من المحسنين قال معاذ الله أن نأخذ إلا من وجدنا متاعنا عنده إنا إذا لظالمون فلما استيئسوا منه خلصوا نجيا قال كبيرهم ألم تعلموا أن أباكم قد أخذ عليكم موثقا من الله ومن قبل ما فرطتم في يوسف فلن أبرح الأرض حتى يأذن لي أبي أو يحكم الله لي وهو خير الحاكمين.
حسبك.
الله فيك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربنا زدنا علما يا كريم. Inshallah, we're going to begin with the verses. So the scene that where we left off is that they have gone back, and now Yaqub alayhi salam is giving them this advice, and he says to them that, "O my sons, do not enter from min babin wahid. Don't enter from one door. All the eyes are going to be on you. And the first time you entered, you were strangers. The second time you enter, you're like a known, like, you know, when somebody enters the second time, you're like, oh, I've seen you somewhere, like you've been here before. So the second time you enter in a group, people might think you're here for some other reason. So disperse and enter through different doors. This planning of Yaqub alayhi salam was not going to avail in the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a bit, illa except inside. Yaqub alayhi salam is a Nabi, but he has this feeling, I don't want my kids to get hurt. He knows, I say it or I don't, the kids, if they were intended, i.e. there was this qadr of Allah for them to be hurt, they will be hurt. Right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا, when they entered, مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَهُمْ. So they listened to their father. And they said, fine, we will enter from different doors. ما كان يغني عنهم من الله من شيء إلا حاجة في نفس يعقوب قضاها. We've already talked about this. Then ولما دخلوا على يوسف. Now they enter and they all congregate in a place, and now they head towards the palace. Why do they go to the palace? Because remember what we said, this is where Sham, the Levant area where they were stationed, they're having a severe drought, and Egypt is the place that is managing. And everybody around has heard about the fame of Yousef alayhi salam and how justly is he distributing ration, i.e. giving food and staple stock to people. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَى يُوسُف, when they entered upon Yousef alayhi salam, آوَى إِلَيْهِ أَخَاهُ. So he made his brother, awa, i.e. he brought him very close to him. And from the same word is ma'wahum, right? Ma'wahum jahannam, i.e. they will eventually return back. So it is basically he returned him back to the connection that he had with him. How did this happen? The tafsir, the mufassirun have spoken about it. That when they entered upon Yousef alayhi salam, he gathered them all and he prepared for them food. فَقَالَ لَهُمْ, so he told them, two. Each two get to sit on one table of food. So who was left? Binyamin, his brother. So he was left, Binyamin was left. So what happens? He tells Binyamin that he tells the other brothers, since he doesn't have anyone to sit with, I will sit with him. I'm not going to leave him alone. Then he did the same thing with the way they would sleep. فَقَالَ لَهُمْ two. So at that point, Binyamin, it says in Qurtubi that he started crying because none of the brothers wanted Binyamin to sleep with him. Like, we don't want to be, we brought you, we're going to get some extra load of, extra camels worth of food, but don't come to us. Don't come in our room. For it mentions that he cried. For Yousef alayhi salam, he looked at him and he said, Man thanihi, who's the second? Like, who's going to accompany him? Who's going to be the partner for him? So none of the brothers said, we will, accommodate him in our room. Then he said, Ajal huwa mahi. Then I will go with him. Then Yousef alayhi salam took him in the room and awa ilayhi. Now this is like he gave him refuge. Now he took care of all of his emotional, physical, everything the brothers were doing. It was so obvious So this awa is basically what a bird does when it spreads its feathers and protects the chicks or the ducklings, whatever the bird it is. That is called awa. So he comforted him with that extra care and love. So yeah, Binyamin, he's finding it odd, like what's going on? There's something up here, right? Qala inni ana akhuk. I am your lost brother. Inni ana akhuk. Fala tabta'is. Don't be sad. Bima kanu ya'malun. Don't be sad of what has happened in the past. Whatever they used to do. Bima kanu ya'malun. That from this day onwards they will not do anything to you. Bima kanu ya'malun. Whatever they used to do to you, don't worry, don't be sad about that. I got you from here. And from here the ulama, they said multiple lessons for us. Number one, they said that if you have a good news to tell someone, right? Or if you can tell a news about something, and that news will create ease and joy for that person, then it is not allowed for us to delay that news. Except if there is greater fa'idah in delaying the news. Right? That's the only condition that, if I delay it, there's going to be a lot more benefit for him than you can delay, or for her. But if there is a news and you know that if I tell this information to this person, they will be at ease, right? Then we should definitely convey that. The second benefit that we get from this ayah is that he did not sit there and started enumerating with him, Haji, what did he do to you? Tell me the whole story. It's been 20 years. Okay, tell me every single thing. When we sit down, it's like, what did you give me? أعد لي واحد اثنين ثلاثة أربعة خمسة. It's like, oh Allah, I will. Because at the end of the day, they were also his brothers. Whatever was done to Yousef alayhi salam, whatever Yousef alayhi salam went through, whatever Binyamin was going through was far less than Yousef alayhi salam. So he knows what they're capable of, but he did not poke the wound. What do? When somebody comes to us so that we can give him awa, we give him awa and then we start like poking that person. So exactly what tell me the exact statement he told you. When did the fight start? And you find that this is from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. When he entered in the house of Fatima radiallahu anha, and he noticed that Ali radiallahu anhu is missing. فقال لها, so he said to her, Ya Fatima, أين ibn ammik? Where is your cousin? I mean, Ali radiallahu anhu was a distant cousin, but ibn ammik, where is your relative of yours? So she said, Ya Rasulullah, كان بيني وبينه شيء فغاضبني فخرج. Something happened between me and him. فغاضبني, so we both got angry at one another. فخرج. So he left. Now, if there was any human being on the face of this earth that was worthy of telling the entire qissa, and he could have solved it, it was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But Fatima radiallahu anha, the tarbiyah of Rasulullah, so she never disclosed anything except that which is necessary. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't even poke. Imagine if some we all have daughters. If anybody has done that to our daughter, you come to your house and where is he? Uski aisi majal, like how dare he walk out on you? What happens to us, right? That desi blood or the Arab blood. How dare my daughter? Like none of that. Rather, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught Fatima radiallahu anha a very important lesson. He got up and he left. So that's very odd because he spent all this time walking in the sun after Dhuhr Salah to come all the way from Masjid al-Nabawi close to the Masjid Quba area. That's a 35-45 minutes walk. Even in today's temperature, if it's like summertime, you can't walk that much. He got up and then he goes and looks for Ali radiallahu anhu. He finds Ali radiallahu anhu, and when he finds him sleeping in Masjid al-Nabawi in the shade of the wall of Masjid al-Nabawi. He goes to Ali radiallahu anhu, sits down next to him, and he had all over his beard what? Turab. All the dust particles has settled, because he was like knocked out cold. Right? He was like sleeping. He's like, you know what? I'll settle this some other time. I need to sleep. So he went and slept. Now here comes Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he wipes off all of that. As he's wiping off, he says what? قُمْ يَا أَبَا تُرَابٍ قُمْ يَا أَبَا تُرَابٍ قُمْ يَا أَبَا تُرَابٍ. Get up, O Abu Turab, O dust man. I.e., you have so much dust over you, you're somebody that is made from dust. You want to understand the feelings that Rasulullah displayed, the love that he displayed to Ali radiallahu anhu at that moment. You understand this when he became a Khalifa. And this, again, this is a separate story, but you understand this scene like this. Somebody came to Ali radiallahu anhu during his Khilafah and said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, ma ahabbu al-asma'i ilayk. What's the most favorite name you'd like to be called with? And he said, منذ أن قال لي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أبا تراب. The day Rasulullah said Abu Turab to me, and the love he showed me that day, since that day my own name has become less favorite to me, and Abu Turab is my most beloved name to me. How many of us will be able to show that level of love? At least I know for myself, like if that scene would have happened with any of my daughters, I was like, there's no way I'm showing that level. Like, it's hard. But imagine the emotional control that Rasulullah ﷺ had. That he was able to display. And then he takes Ali radiallahu anhu back, drops him at the house, go inside, locks, go inside, I'm gone. It's your fight. I don't need to get involved. If it was any one of us, Hanji, come, display, what happened, what did you, we want to show like, I'm the, no, it is your own affair, you settle it. So coming back, over here, Yousef alayhi salam did not poke. He rather said, whatever happened, happened. Let bygones be bygones, let's move on. And let's look towards the future. فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ. So, the second thing he said to him, he said, look, I want to keep you here. The only way I can do that is that the Qanun of Malik does not allow me to. But since you are from Banu Israel and the Jewish Qanun allows that if somebody somebody is a thief, then how do you repay that theft? What is the consequence of that theft? You become a slave. Okay, and that is the Qanun in Talmud till today. Right? That if somebody steals, how do you get out of that? How do you expiate for that sin? You become a slave to the person you stole from. Okay? So he said that's the only thing we can do. So his brother agreed to that entire scene that was concocted. Right? فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ. So when he furnished them with their jahaz, their provisions. The word jahaz is basically different than mata'. Okay? Mata', bida', jahaz. These are all words interchangeable. Mata' is something that you're allowed to benefit from, and Allah has only determined how long you're going to benefit from it. Okay? Bida' is any luggage. Any luggage that you carry, whether you carry it in your travel, or for example, when he comes, he has this entire box, right? This is bida'. Right? It's just a box. It's something you came with. Jahaz is luggage that is necessary for you in your travel. What did they come for? Food. So فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ, that when he filled their luggage or their things with the provisions that they came for. And that is why many times in translations, if you guys have any of your Qur'ans, you can look it up, the translations will say provisions or sustenance. The word jihaz does not mean that, but because of the context, it applies that they came for provisions. So this is what it means. جَعَلَ السِّقَايَةَ فِي رَحْلِ أَخِيهِ. He took the drinking bowl in the travel bag of his brother, Binyamin. ثُمَّ أَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ. Now this is different. So a group of people are doing this, his servants, they don't know the plan. He said, listen, take all of this and, take the cup of the king, Suwa al-Malik, take that and put it in this bag. Obviously, they're servants. They're being told by the finance minister, I'm going to go do what I need to be done. Then, أَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ. Some other person, somehow news spreads that we are missing the cup of the king. So a person comes, أَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ. A person comes and says, okay, what does he say? أَيَّتُهَا الْعِيرُ, O caravan. Talking to the entire caravan. أَيَّتُهَا الْعِيرُ إِنَّكُمْ لَسَارِقُونَ. You guys have stolen. Now, this statement, أَيَّتُهَا الْعِيرُ إِنَّكُمْ لَسَارِقُونَ. First thing we must understand that Anbiya alayhim as-salam, all of the Anbiya, and we've talked about this again and we'll repeat it, our aqidah of the mainstream Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that they are ma'asoom, they are free of all mistakes. They don't commit mistakes. Right? And they definitely don't lie. That's one of the absolute no's for them. Okay? So how do you come, how is he plotting all of this? And there was no sariqah, nobody stole it. Innakum lasariqun. Right? The answer for this has been given by Fakhruddin al-Razi, and he says, number one, that what did they steal actually? Who did they steal from Yaqub alayhi salam? Yousef alayhi salam. And they sold him. That's the greatest theft ever. They took their own brother, stole them from Yaqub. So innakum lasariqun, referring to the stealing you did when you stole me from my own father and sold me into the slavery. That's the first answer. The second, there's 4 answers given. The second answer is innakum lasariqun. The statement was said by a person who was not aware of this entire thing, so he actually thought there's a theft that has happened. That's the second. The third is innakum lasariqun. This was with the approval of Binyamin, and in their religion this was allowed. This entire planning and the planning that they did was part of their religion. So since Binyamin had agreed to this plot, he only alluded to the plot that was agreed on. He did not do any exaggerating, like the statement was not inaccurate. And I don't remember the fourth, off the top of my head. There was a fourth answer too, but I don't remember off the top. قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون. They all came and said, what's missing? ماذا تفقدون? What went lost? What went missing? قالوا نفقد صواع الملك. We are missing the cup of the Malik. Suwa' over here is what? The measuring cup. Okay. Why was measuring cup so important? Why such a big deal about this? I mean, if one cup goes missing, who makes a big deal about that? Why was such a big deal?
Made out of gold.
No. It was hard to acquire? No. Think in the context. Why was it such an important thing?
Because it belongs to the king.
I mean, he doesn't have access to other cups? Sorry? No. What times are they living in?
I know. It's to measure the food.
It was the most instrumental tool for measuring the food. Because this was the standard measure. Like, all of when we say 1 kilo, every country has the standard measure of kilo in the trades department. Right? That is, if there's a dispute between two people what 1 kilo is, we all go to that standard that is in the trade department. This was the standard, i.e. all other standards would refer to, so this was like kept, that all sa', this is the measuring tool of food. Suwa' al-Malik. The measuring tool was a very significant thing because they have to provide food to all of these people. So if the original goes missing, the entire equation and everything, economics are being messed up. So that's why it was so important. Right? I used to wonder, why the king doesn't have more cups? What a big deal about the cup? It was not just any cup, it was the standard cup for the measuring. And that's what went missing. وَلِمَنْ جَاءَ بِهِ حِمْلُ بَعِيرٍ. It was so important that in this scarce time where there will be no food, everybody was starving for food, you will get an extra. It was so important. Right? As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, right, that prior to the coming of Dajjal, you will have sanawatun khida', you will have years of deception. But then 3 years before Dajjal, the time is going to be so, i.e. the economic crisis is going to be so bad. The famine is going to be so bad. The Prophet ﷺ said that one of you would give your entire life's treasure to be able to get a head of a cow without any meat on it. Just the bones so you can make the soup out of it. That soup, because there would be no food, the head of a sawr, i.e. an ox's head, would be so expensive during that time before coming of Dajjal. The inflation of prices would go so much and the scarcity of food that a person would be willing to spend khaza'inuhu, his entire treasures, to be able to get bone structure of an ox's head. May Allah protect us from that. Right? So over here, this was the time they were in. So it was a big deal. That's why you get an entire camel's load if you bring this back. قَالُوا تَاللَّهِ. This is the way to do qasam. Tallah. Right? What other way do the Arabs do qasam? Yallah.
Wallah wa billah wa tallah.
Wallah wa billah wa tallah wa lallah. Okay? Tallah is only, the word ta is for qasam, and this only applies to La Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, lafil jalal, lafzul jalala. You know, but there are other ways that we do qasam, right? Right? وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ. Right? بِرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ. We can use all of that, but we never use the word ta except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qasam of ta, this ta is for qasam li lafzil jalalati faqat. You will never see tallahi being used for anything else. Okay? قالوا تالله. Now they're, saying a qasam. This is a point for us to understand that sometimes if you have to emphasize, there is nothing wrong in our sharia as well, that if you have to emphasize a point, you can use qasam to emphasize the point even when there is no need for it. Okay? تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض. You know that we have not come to cause corruption in this land. The tafsir books, they say that they were so ahwat, i.e. they were so protective that there's no transgression on anybody in the land, because they know that they were the sons of a Nabi. So they were so protective that they covered the mouths of their camels and they covered the mouths of their animals, so their animals would not eat the food of anybody else. So they're like, we did not come linufsida fil ard. We didn't come for corruption. Look at the way we're even treating our camel. We have covered, we put a muzzle on the mouth so he doesn't graze, or the camel doesn't go and graze on other lands. وَمَا كُنَّا سَارِقِينَ. And we originally were not the ones, we're not known. Everybody knows that our tribe is a respectable tribe. We are not from the lineage of thieves. Over here we learn something very important. In the past, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but we must understand. The only way to verify somebody's actual character and your honor was, what is your lineage? What is your tribe? And your tribe would have a particular status within the society. And that tribe would give you a position within the society right away. Now that position has been replaced with a resume, right? Or a CV and bunch of degrees and references that other people have worked. So back in the day, today we have all of this new system, but back in the day the system was, if I want to know, are you going to backstab me or not, I will trust the fact that you come from an honorable tribe. Now, if you do backstab me, that would then impact your entire tribe. So people would think 1,000 times before doing an evil act. Now, because we don't have that social fabric structure, it is very easy for people to commit whatever evils they want to do, because it doesn't impact the family. They're like, oh, we have nothing to do with this. Yes, he was our son, but now he's not. Right? When the mass shooting happens, what happens? He was such a nice kid, but ever since he became 18, he just, we've got nothing to do with him. Okay? So, over here, وَمَا كُنَّا سَارِقِينَ, i.e. ask anybody within this caravan, we belong to a respectable family. And we are not known as thieves, even within our own lands. قالوا فما جزاء إن كنتم كاذبين. طيب, okay, I agree with you. Now, if we find this, if you are liars, and if we find this cup somehow in your luggages, فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين. What is going to be the reward of that person if you happen to be liars? قالوا جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه. I.e., if we find that one of us has stolen something, then that person becomes a jaza, i.e. he will be sold into slavery. You take him. كذلك نجزي الظالمين. This is how we do in our lands anybody who is a thief and transgressors. فبدأ بأوعيتهم قبل وعاء أخيه. So he started with their luggages. Oh, you don't have it. Oh, good, clear. You don't have it, clear. You don't have it, clear. 9, 10, 11. So he comes to Binyamin. ثم استخرجها من وعاء أخيه. He took it out from the bag of his brother. كذلك كدنا ليوسف. This is how we allowed Yousef alayhi salam, i.e. Allah is saying, this is how we inspired him to use the law of Bani Israel to plot and keep his, i.e. kidna, i.e. this was a plot for benefit. We allowed him to think about that. We inspired him, Allah is saying, that this is an inspiration that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Yousef alayhi salam. مَا كَانَ لِيَأْخُذَ أَخَاهُ فِي دِينِ الْمَلِكِ. In the land of Egypt, there was no way he would have been able to keep his brother. Okay? And likewise, many times when we are faced with situations in life, sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inspire us. And sometimes you will say, oh, kahan se idea? Like, where did I get this? How did I think of it? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspires every single one of us. You know, they call it lammatul malak, right? The touch of an angel. Right? Like how shaitan comes and does waswas, we also believe in something called lammatul malak, the angel. Sometimes if you've noticed that you're sleeping at night, you'll wake up at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and then you just have this desire, like, you know what, let me just pray, like, let me just make wudu and may as well just pray 2 rak'ahs nafil and go back to sleep. Who inspired you at that time? That, the ulama, they say that's called lammatul malak. It's the touch of an angel. Right? But that touch of an angel does not come if you slept watching Netflix. Right? Then you have touch of a shaitan sometimes. Or whatever Superman hero movie that you were watching, they will come and save you. قالوا إن نرفع درجات من نشاء. Allah is like, we raise the ranks of whoever we wish. And this is, remember I said Surah Yusuf has these principles that, you know, we can actually hang in our houses. Right? وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Right? Similarly, وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Over here Allah is like, نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَنْ نَشَاء. We raise the ranks of whoever we wish. This is something, if we understand, all of my pain and all of your pain and all of our pains will be ease. You do your best at your job. You do your best at your field. You do the best you can. Some, Allah will give them rizq and raise their ranks. Others, Allah will test you and keep you where you are, to keep you humble. I remember once I was sitting at a conference in Malaysia. I was invited, and next to me was Sheikh Yahya Ibrahim. We were sitting. And a person went up on the stage. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, and this was the first time I ever got invited to like a major conference where they flew me out, and I was like, this is all new to me, right? This whole experience. And Sheikh Yahya is like a veteran. Like I was 16 when I used to listen to Sheikh Yahya Ibrahim's lectures. So Sheikh Yahya is sitting there. And he looked at me and he recognized, like, you know. So this person who got up to speak, I'm like, who allowed this guy to go on the stage? I'm like, this guy can't even form a sentence. Why is he there? right? Like, and deep down inside of me, I'm like, you know what? They're like, Sheikh Yahya is sitting here. Sheikh Fulan is sitting here. And if they don't want to speak, I'll also speak. Like, but there's no way this guy should be speaking. So Sheikh Yahya looked at me, and I think he recognized what I was thinking because my facial expressions were, I guess, pretty obvious. And he was like, he said, Ahmed, you know what? We all are being tested in this room right now. So I was like, how? He said, the test of the one that is standing on the stage is that he has to recognize that Allah has opened the door of that stage for him, but he doesn't deserve that stage. So he has to have the humility and humbleness to say, I am, yes, a great alim, but I'm not meant for public speaking, and I'm not meant for a stage where 3,000 people are sitting. And the test for you and I is that we know that we can speak better than him. But Allah is humbling you and me right now, saying that that stage that you think you so rightfully deserve, I can take that away from you whenever I want. Right? Similarly, نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَنْ نَشَاءُ. We raise the ranks of whoever. It's not that, oh, he got a degree, so he got it. How many of us know of a person who doesn't have any degree and he is doing financially so well off? And I know individuals who have, mashallah, MIT degree, a PhD from Stanford, and recently they're like in Yale doing a second PhD, and they can hardly keep a job. This is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why does this tafawut happen? وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. This ranking of up and down, Allah is like, this happens because above every person that has little bit of knowledge, there is somebody more knowledgeable. Now there are two ways to understand this ayah. Number one, وَفَوْقَ, and above, kulli, every, ذِي ilmin, the knowledgeable one or possessor of knowledge, alimun, is the one who has more knowledge. Two ways to understand, i.e. above every, whenever you reach a specific level of knowledge, there is always going to be another human being that is going to be higher than you. The second is وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ, that when a person reaches the level where people say, this is an expert in this field, you have become alim, i.e. you know most in your field, there is somebody, ذِي عِلْمٍ, you have become well known for your knowledge, then Allah is like, above that is alimun, I am the most knowledgeable one. No matter how high you reach in your ranks of ilm, there's always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that transcends every knowledgeable person. قَالُوا إِن يَسْرِقْ, if he has stolen, فَقَدْ سَرَخَ أَخٌ لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. Now they flipped. We are not from the family of people who steal. Right away he flips. He's like, oh yeah, if he has stolen, his brother also stole in the past.
They're not cool anymore.
They're not cool anymore. What is this story referring to? His brother stole in the past. When Yousef alayhi salam was small, the mother of Yousef alayhi salam, after the birth of Binyamin, she passed away. And Yousef alayhi salam and Binyamin were the last two from the other wife. But after the birth of Binyamin, she passed away. So who took care of Yousef alayhi salam and Binyamin? No. No, not the other wife. No, the sister of Yaqub alayhi salam. She took care of Ammatu. So he was in the company of somebody was sitting and they pressed on, they kind of like leaned over and the car button went. Is it our car?
No. I think what's the story?
You can go try if it's our car. I don't think it's ours, but if you recognize your car, yeah, alhamdulillah. Somebody got it. Like if you have Hondas, and if you accidentally press the unlock button, and you hold it for like 10 seconds, it brings down all the windows and the sunroof. So there was this Ammu, he used to come for Salah, and every time he would pray Salah, right, and this was in Canada, So he wore like, in wintertime he would wear like double 3 layers. So the pants would be tight. So he would go in sajda and he would press the unlock button and he would come back outside of the car and he would be like, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillah ar-Rahman, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Rabbi a'udhu bika min hamazati shayateen, A'udhu bika. And then he would come back. He was so worried. The first time we saw it, we were like, wow, subhanallah, this happened. Second time it happened, we actually went checked the cameras. We're like, wow, the windows went down. Nobody knew that the Hondas have this feature. That's the day I learned that this has the feature. So we're like, wallahi, like during the salah, the jinns bring down only his car. We're like, all the imams are puzzled. We're like, nobody. And then there was this teenager from the high school. He's like, let me just search Honda automatic window. And it says, oh, all Honda cars and Acuras have this feature that if you hold down the unlock button for 10 seconds, it will bring down all the windows and sunroof. And if you take your key and you put it in the car and you go towards the lock twice, it will bring up all the windows. Right? Only Honda. Yeah, I was 5 years old at that time. So I don't, yeah.
So there is no jinn here.
There was no jinn here. So this was inshallah. So now they say, so what happened? The aunt of Yousef alayhi salam, she used to take care of them. Now the time came where Yousef alayhi salam was old enough. So Yaqub alayhi salam came and he said, Yallah, I'm going to take Yousef. But she loved Yousef too much. She loved Yousef alayhi salam way too much. He was the most beautiful child, very, very peaceful. So what did he do? What did she do? She played a game. Same game. So she gave Yousef alayhi salam a piece of cloth or something that she was very, very precious, and it was very flashy. So Yousef alayhi salam kept it and he put it in the pocket. So as Yousef alayhi salam was leaving, she's like, wait a minute, Yaqub, I'm missing my handkerchief. I don't know where it is. Oh, he has it. Banu Israel Qanun. Now he is a slave to me. Okay? So this is the story. فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخٌ لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. Now obviously Yaqub alayhi salam is like, come on. Seriously, I am the Nabi. I am Israel. Okay, like, are we going to do this right now? So he brought Yousef alayhi salam back and she tried. So that story went to the brothers. And brothers were older, so they remember this. So they're saying, oh, if he stole, we remember, there was a brother that he had, he also stole. فَأَسَرَّهَا يُوسُفُ فِي نَفْسِهِ. So Yousef alayhi salam, he concealed it in his heart. Now this is something that I struggle with. Because if somebody tells me a bad news, there's no way I can conceal it. Like, you will see it on my face. Because like my emotions inside, and I'm like, it's so difficult. And to be able to, and then who are masters of these? Right? Politicians. Oh wow, yeah, absolutely. This is such an important question. And I'm glad that I'm like, you just said a completely different statement 2 days ago. Right? And to be able to put that asarra, they know that your intention is to hurt me, but to conceal that. Right? And my one of my mentors, he used to say that, Ahmed, you need to develop an alligator skin. Right? If you want to be in, public service, you have to develop an alligator skin, which means no matter what people say, the words of people, they don't affect you. You can't allow that to affect you. فَأَسَرَّهَا يُوسُفُ فِي نَفْسِهِ. Yusuf alayhi salam hid that, concealed it. وَلَمْ يُبْدِيَ لَهُمْ. They never figured out, because if he had reacted to that news, like they're now in his presence saying, you stole. So if he had reacted, they would have known that this is Yusuf alayhi salam. وَلَمْ يُبْدِيَ لَهُمْ. So he's like, he completely concealed it. And in his heart, to himself, he said what? قَالَ أَنْتُمْ شَرٌّ مَكَانًا. You're in a more bad situation than me. You blame me for this? You're in a much bad situation than me. وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا تَصِفُونَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most knowing of that which you fabricate. Tasifun is an interesting word. Tasifun comes from, this state of mind that when you fabricate the story to such reality that you forget that it was a fabrication. Okay, tasifun is when you fabricate a scene or a statement or an event, and it's completely fabricated, but you convinced yourself that this fabrication is reality.
But they believe their own lie.
They believe their own lie. Okay, this is called tasifun. قالوا أيها العزيز. How's the energy level in the room? You guys are good? Khair. Okay, then we'll stop over here. We'll just finish with dua, inshallah. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وبارك اللهم على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. We ask you, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to bless us with the understanding of the Quran. We ask you, O Allah, to send your choicest blessings on Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask you, O Allah, on this Friday, on this blessed night, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide victory to our brothers and sisters in Gaza and ease the pain of all of our brothers and sisters in any part of the world, wherever they are. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help us and to enable us and to allow us to be those who are able to understand and spread the message of the Quran. O Allah, allow us to be able to understand and spread the message of the Quran. Let the message of the Quran and the light in it be the nur that guides us. And allow this message to protect us and our generations to come. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه فإنه الغفور الرحيم.